Robert Forsch, and I have an intentionally blacked out video so I don't have to really give much thought to what to show you visually. What I want to do is communicate some concepts that you can think about and imagine it however you will. So, one of the other dynamics that I did was turned off the electricity in the house. I went over to the electrical panel and I shut off the power for the household here. We're expecting an ice storm here in South Carolina, and so it's very possible that power will go out. However, I'm online right now and I can go online through my phone and use that as a hotspot for my computer if I chose to. One of the things that I wanted to talk about as well as it relates to machine learning and artificial intelligence, omnipotence, omniscience, or omniscience. Omniscience is the capacity, and I believe the reality, to know everything. Now, I don't claim to know it all, and yet I believe I know who does. The Most High, the true creator of this realm that we live in, is all-knowing, all-powerful, and ultimately in control of what happens and doesn't happen. In the context of that, there's a lot of activity happening that's hard to look at, pretty painful. Toxification of our environment, and ultimately the environment that our soul and our perception lives in. Our mind, our cognitive function dwells in a body that can be toxified. So a good example, or purified, either way, it's not all doom and gloom. I wanted to talk about some things that will hopefully help people to see things from a different perspective, one with hope. So one of the things that I'd like to have you consider is, for example, the water can either purify or toxify. Well, not water per se. Water that contains chemicals like fluoride, chlorine, other people's prescriptions, and toxins. Some water is very toxic and it shouldn't be consumed. And yet some of that water is being distributed worldwide to impair cognitive function. Conversely, pure water without dissolved solids and chemicals can purify. It can clean the body, it can clean the mind. So what I've been doing for a little over 3 years now is bathing in reverse osmosis, carbon filtered water. And when I first started doing that, I used a solution added to that to kill fungus and add powerful electrolytes to the body. So I would put in a cup of borax, which is boron, a cup of baking soda, and a cup of magnesium sulfate, which is Epsom salt. Now I'm on a maintenance application of that, which is a tablespoon of each: borax, baking soda, and magnesium sulfate. They're powerful electrolytes that kill body fungus and add to the electrical capacity of my body and the operating of that. So one of the other things that I've done too is I've added a ground wire to my bathtub. purified water without any dissolved solids is virtually non-conductive, very low conductivity, almost none. So adding the borax, baking soda, and magnesium, it becomes conductive, and then an application of grounding or earthing takes place, much like walking on the beach or bathing in the ocean. Bathing in some hot water, hot purified water that's electrolyte enhanced is very powerful. And right now, because when I exfoliate with a microfiber towel, it knocks off the dead skin and allows the healthy new skin to absorb water and also express perspiration. One of the ways the body detoxifies is sweating, perspiring. Another way is respiring. It's exhaling. So we take in atmosphere and then we have an exhaust, which is some spent oxygen, nitrogen, whatever the atmosphere is, with some of the oxygen removed for our metabolic function, our metabolism. So when we exhale, there can be the exhaust of metabolic function of our body. What I was going to say too is because when I lean back in that grounded electrolyte purified water, it goes into the sinuses and then it has released some blockage that was in my sinus passages. Bathing out or I should say swimming and surfing in the ocean contributed to that as well. It's a very salty solution in the ocean. Apparently it's been reported to have 3 times the electrolyte battery properties of a lead acid battery. So the water that covers the face of the stationary level Earth is enhanced with electrolytes and is a perfect ground, apparently. So the structures around the world that you have to dig pretty deep into the ground to have pilings and concrete so they don't just tip over in a big wind or wind and waves and all that. Of course, really tall waves, a huge tsunami could knock buildings over. But those buildings also have lightning rods on them, and I've been in front of the Prince Resort in Cherry Grove, South Carolina, when it was hit by lightning. I was on the beach then. And I've talked about this before. I'm not afraid to live, die, or tell the truth. I was actually struck by lightning. I've got a video. You can hashtag struck by lightning. And I was recording 5 Vietnamese surf fishermen. And I was hit by lightning. I was holding my Tommy Bahama lightning rod umbrella. And I rode to the beach that day for recording on the motorcycle, and I had a Nikon P900, an iPhone, and a computer. So to get on the motorcycle and go for a ride, I could get more wet, and sometimes it can be kind of dangerous riding in the rain because of lack of visibility from other people and all of that. Getting back to the being struck by lightning, I was barefoot on the wet sand, and I knew that I could get hit by lightning, especially holding on to an aluminum pole with an umbrella on it. When I went out that day, it was a beautiful sunny morning, partly cloudy, and then a storm came in. Well, anyway, I believed that the Most High wanted me to keep on recording, so I did. Because I had been born again, born of the Spirit of the Most High, I believed that He was and is in control of what happens or doesn't happen. So it was my line in the sand. I believed that if he wanted to take me home, that would be just fine. And I believed he wanted me to keep on recording, and it was a test. Now, before I was born again, I would have thought it was a test so God could see what I would do. In effect, in actuality, he wanted me to see what I would do. So that's why I am not afraid to live, die, or tell the truth and make that truth known. So in that same area, within 100 feet of that area, I met a Google executive from ABC Inc. or Alphabet Inc., the largest information distribution network apparently in the world. And I deal with the topic of knowledge, the need to be born again. That's the most important knowledge to have. And then accurately to determine if that actually took place. So there should be powerful evidence if somebody claims to be a child of God that's been born of his spirit. So in artificial intelligence, machine learning, robotics, and all of that, we look at machines that learn, computers that learn, and apply that with robotics, connect it to a router or an information distribution source. It could be so-called satellite connection with the data, or a wireless router or a cellular network, and then potentially connected to much of the information that is known. Not all of it, because some of it is classified and hard to get to intentionally. Therein lies one of the challenges, is that in the battle for the souls of humanity, the mind is an important battlefield, and it's a battlefield where truth and deception are the primary weapons. And early on in this, when I was born again in 2014, I thought that the truth was, all people needed to do was hear the truth. And I came to find out that, as important as that is, there's a combination of hearing the truth and then having the veil removed from in front of the eyes and the heart of the individual to be able to apprehend and appropriate that truth. So that would be where I'm dealing with the philosophical reality of determinism, and that God is all-powerful and all-knowing. He's large and in charge, and unless he removes the veil from in somebody's heart and their eyes and mind to perceive that reality, they'll remain in their spiritual ignorance. And they may be the wealthiest people in the world that are believing Satan or Lucifer or the adversary is the Most High. So there's an inversion going on. There's a battle between God and Satan and the representative of each family, or the family of each of those entities, the Most High and then the usurper or the Antichrist. I believe that the Holy Spirit, the true Creator, took up human flesh and dwelt among us in the entity or individual known as Jesus Christ. And he has many other names and titles. The Most High, the Alpha and Omega, knowing the end from the beginning, the living Word, the living water, the way, the truth, the life. So when I say I pray in his name, that's who I'm talking about. There's no ambiguity there with me. To be unapologetically biblical in a world that hates the true Creator is can be somewhat isolationist, or it could be lonely. However, I've found fellowship with the Most High that's truly rewarding, and brothers and sisters all around the world. And then also what I want to help people consider, help you consider, is that even opposition to that reality or that truth is not necessarily a negative thing. So that by that, what I mean is when people are presented new information that is very uncomfortable, it can be where it's a psychological term, cognitive dissonance. And confirmation bias is a tool that quite often is going to be implemented by the individual experiencing that to reject the truth teller or the person presenting this new information. The person may be presenting false information that feels uncomfortable. So it can be either way. So how will people know the truth and be set free? To know the truth, and the truth will set you free. So with that in mind, I believe that divine intervention is required to love and believe the truth, let alone find it. So the biblical creation is a stationary level earth. Do you feel yourself spinning, wobbling, and gyrating over 1,000 miles an hour? We'd all go flying off. So as soon as somebody spouts, well, gravity, I would say, well, you may want to look into that, because it's a theory that's actually just a theory that's a clever deception. We have buoyancy and density, the differences in density and mass that cause things to rise and fall. That being said, what I would also draw your attention to is high-powered computer-generated cinematography that involves very sophisticated ways of presenting information for us to look at and hear that's synthetic. It's not actually real. It may represent a reality, but it may also be designed to trick and outright bamboozle the viewer. So the Matrix is a metaphorical touchstone for many of us. Take the red pill. You know, Elon Musk tweeted that after I had reached out to him on the sending him a shirt with me photoshopped in the Roadster, the Cybertruck on the back. I'm photoshopped in it because it's photoshopped because it has to be. And I included Tesla racing stickers and my YouTube channel, hashtag my name and my phone number, because now I'm not saying that Elon hashtagged or said take the red pill because of me. It may have been that he was just thinking about that, and I've seen interviews with him talking about that. I've had very interesting interactions with people that were representatives of Tesla since then. I've got followers on Twitter that are very well known in artificial intelligence, machine learning, and robotics for obvious reasons. So one of the questions that I had thought about, or possibilities that I had pondered, is the fact that these devices that we use are our computers and the portable version of our computers on the cell phone. I mean, my Apple MacBook and Apple Air MacBook Pro, those are portable. However, the portability of a pocket-sized device that has a massive amount of computing power, and then it's not only that, it's an interface with what's accessible in the cloud. So like, years ago, I would open up my computer and see a lot of wireless routers that had the lock on them. I couldn't access them because I did not have the code to access that network. And what I had thought at the time, I remember it vividly, it was, I wonder what kind of effect those signals have on me and the population in general. So some of them may be coming from a cellular tower. Some of them were coming from hotels on the beach, or even as I was driving my car around and I could see the different networks as I was moving. I've been curious my whole life. I would ask why, largely to my dad. He was very interested in passing on information to me. A lot of the information we have now wasn't a topic of discussion then. We did not know. Okay, so I've been curious, and like Richard Feynman talking about why, the question why. You can see it in my playlist if you like. There's many levels of why something occurs or why something is a certain way, involving social constructs and a body of information that's widely understood in an area, either an intellectual discipline or a geographical area. An Aborigine is going to have a different understanding of the Amazon than the Wall Street executive. Now, the Wall Street executive largely is more like an actor on the set, where artificial intelligence is doing the heavy lifting, machine learning, high-speed computer trading. Now we've got Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, and many different currencies, cryptocurrencies. Reason why I say that is we're living in a very precarious time in human history, where it appears to me and quite a few others that this battle is culminating into quite a battle, where much of humanity is being systemically or systematically eliminated. Part of it is having to do with choices that people make, what to put in or on their body. We've got wearables, we've got technology that people are willfully putting in their bodies. What I would say too is, if you're going to put something in or on your body that affects your thinking, especially, you should know what the label is, what the warnings are, and then also to know that the label may not include warnings, because sometimes there's intentional toxification to impair cognitive function. So the tap water in the United States here does not include an MSD sheet, at least not at my faucet. What I found out is that there's an intentional recycling of wastewater that includes biosolids, molecular structures that are not healthy to the body. So are nanoparticles real? And can they be affected and activated by electronics? Perhaps, I believe so. So instead of creating a robot from the ground up with titanium, rubber, silicone, carbon fiber, what happens if you just put something in a human body that turns that human body into a robot? Like if you present information that impairs perception, what people see and hear and believe and think and smell. What about that? There's been an increase in the amount of manipulative technology of humanity that involves electronics. One of the reasons why I went over and turned off the breaker on the house to stop the flow of electricity through the walls is because I believe it has an effect on cognitive function. And yet I need electricity to charge up my batteries and climate control my environment, uh, climate control the food that I don't want, that I want to preserve. So I want it cool and dry so it doesn't, so it doesn't degrade as quickly. So one of the things that I've done for nutrition, I'm going to bounce onto that for a moment. I'll use Ninja Foodie as the name of it. It spins at almost 4,000 RPMs with stainless steel cutters that will pulverize walnuts, spinach, kale, chia seed, hemp hearts, mixed berries, bananas, apples, applesauce, whatever I want to put in there. You can do it to taste. And so I'll make up hundreds of pounds of that, many gallons of it that I'll put in my freezer. And then when I bring it on out a couple of days before I plan on adding it to my mix of my smoothie, I can add prunes to it if I want, apple juice, lemon juice, apple cider vinegar, honey, whatever I want to taste. So that smoothie can be however I want it to be. It's normally fruits, vegetables, nuts, oils, seeds, purified water, high energy nutrition that I can have at any time, basically. So have you ever been driving around thinking, oh, I feel hungry, I want something to eat? Well, quite often I'll bring one of my smoothies with me, or when I'm at home, I can just walk into the kitchen and take a big gulp of that and then think about, do I really want anything else, or is that good for now? So when I get up in the morning, let's see, when did I get up today? I got up yesterday at 11:30 p.m. to be up right now. So somewhere in the 24 hours, I get 5 or so hours of sleep, maybe a little more, maybe a little less. It can be a couple of naps whenever I feel like it. I've got a lot of discretionary time. What I choose to do is try and get the truth in front of as many people possible worldwide. That's my mission, is to expose the truth. So in that, one of the things that will happen is, because my phone number is out there and I'm out there, way out there, I get a lot of contact from people that want to try and access my finances. That's an issue. So I'm not, I've bought into scams, pyramid schemes, all kinds of them, lost money in them. I regret that. I've learned a lot from that. I've learned a lot from my mistakes. I've learned a lot from other people's mistakes, and I'm continually learning 24/7, round the clock, when I'm awake or asleep, in my dreams, in my daydreams, all of that. When I rest, a lot of times at night, I will have the audio Bible on, listening to the Word of God. And that's going to upset people, even hearing that, because the inference is maybe they should believing that the Bible is true or real. Well, what you believe is got something to do with your own desire to know the truth, and apparently it's a truth and a reality that's unavailable for Satan's children. I don't know who they are exactly, because people that have lived very anti-Christ type lives, they may have been or are demon possessed, can be set free from that potentially if the Most High has truly created them to be set free from that bondage of sin and demonic possession. Think of The Exorcist. Think of some of the atrocities that have been attributed to evil people. Well, who determines what's good and evil, what's right and wrong? So when we deal with the philosophical questions like determinism and free will, and good and evil, there's challenging information to look at. What I know now is that I have a power that I previously did not have. I thought I was born again in 1982 until I actually was in 2014. In 1991, I started working at a full-time Christian ministry called Rawhide Boys Ranch in New London, Wisconsin. Met captains of business and industry, Kimberly Clark and Aylward Foundation, the Nina Foundry and Snap-on Tools and Harley Davidson, Willie G. Davidson, Bart Starr, Green Bay Packer. Met a lot of very powerful, important, wealthy people, some of whom claimed to be born again. Some thought that that was not for them. And so there's been a lot of corruption of humanity. Apparently, some of the chemicals put in the food supply are designed to create gender dysphoria. Atrazine is one of them. I first heard the word atrazine when I was about 10 years old in Wisconsin, when my friend Greg was putting it into a sprayer that they were going to put on corn, and then Roundup, which is glyphosate. Some of these are cancer causing. Some of them create gender dysphoria and gender confusion. Corn is the base food product for the food supply. Corn syrup, feed for animals, chickens and beef and pork, pigs. So, between ketchup and Coca-Cola and Pepsi and so many of the other food products, there would be a list of chemicals on the label that can be presented as all natural in some cases, and preservatives, and do you know what they really do? A lot of those words are pretty hard to pronounce and hard to read. If you were aware that they were put there intentionally to shorten your life and impair your cognitive function, would that be of interest to you? I used to do professional sales. Imagine that. Anyway, I've done full-time ministry and been selected to lead character development classes at a mega church. Worked with judicially appointed youth that some of them actually killed people, murdered people, gang violence and that type of thing. I taught automotive and marine detailing. Boats would come in with flare guns and fillet knives, and I was working with people that were incarcerated for murder and gang activity, and sometimes just being unruly at home. So somebody that had a lot of money and a troubled teen could get their son to go there. At the time, there were only young boys. Sometimes they, I think, had worked with some of the staff there that were ladies that had been in trouble and had been redirected and changed other lives, changed the lives of the people they worked with, and I did too. So I was spiritually deader than a hammer and didn't know it. I had the impossible mandates of the Bible, of Scripture, and I only had my human nature, my flesh, to try and carry that out. So right now, I understand that people that are living some kind of an unbiblical lifestyle are immediately going to recognize, or maybe not immediately, but they're not going to want to embrace anything that looks like it might lead down the road to giving that up. They may have a, a preferred chemical they like to put in their body, or a preferred behavior that's unbiblical, and they want to keep doing that. It's like a little monkey on the back, the addiction monkey, whatever it is. There can be the procrastination monkey, like Tim Urban talks about in a TED Talk with millions of views. Hilarious, you know. Sometimes comedy can help open people's eyes and heart to the truth of the reality. So a lot of our comedians, past, present, and future, have helped us embrace an uncomfortable truth or reality, help us laugh at our own enslavement. So you can think about who those individuals are that helped you laugh at the situation. I've learned from people that helped me laugh at myself. They gave me the tools to see how funny that was for me to try to do something that was impossible for me to do, and then to have my ability change, the ability to enjoy freedom that I previously did not know. So the pursuit of self-pleasure, whatever that pleasure is, it can be cocaine or methamphetamines, or it can be philanthropic outreaches, trying to help people, or in some cases there's philanthropic outreaches or organizations that are dedicated to reducing the population of the world with a variety of means. How about that? You can think a lot of the big names of foundations that have been highly involved in eugenics, past, present, and future. Right now, Davos, the World Economic Forum, is meeting, and they're talking about ways to control the population of the world and control humanity in the fourth industrial revolution and the Great Reset. So I took the playlist that this will be in, and I sent it to Klaus Schwab and Bill Gates and Tim Cook and Elon Musk and thousands of others, the world leaders, many of which are gathered around the world in a teleconference. Apparently, there's not as many people publicly acknowledged meeting there, but some of them, I'm sure, are still there. So fear, I've got an acronym I'd like you to consider. False evidence appearing real. Fear. So that a person that's afraid of something, whether it's real or not, true or not, can have physiological side effects. They can even manifest symptoms that may cause them to seek medical attention when potentially contamination can be added to their body to exacerbate and potentially kill them. So what I've done is put together a research library that includes some YouTube playlists, and it's not just limited to that. It's more than that. It's links that are comments within videos that I've produced. What I was going to say, even though I tweeted to the world economic leaders, corporations, and leaders of countries, ours in the United States and worldwide, many of those tweets or private messages may have been put in a digital quarantine. How could I know? One of the ways that I suspect that some of them got out is because some of my public followers on Twitter are architects of artificial intelligence. I may be somewhat of a lurid curiosity, or maybe not lurid. I may just be curiosity to the system. I've survived many near-death experiences and brain injuries, and I wanted to know about neuroplasticity, or the renewing of the mind. Can the brain be regenerated? Where do our thoughts come from? How does that work? So, yeah, I do believe the reality of neuroplasticity, that we can have more cognitive function, but then also, because of cleansing the body, and that I've been interested in doing for years, is that there's a sensitivity to the leading of the Holy Spirit that can help me access, well, information from God, who knows everything. And then I have a spiritual immunity that He provides, so that I can't be indwelt by a demon anymore, ever again. I don't know if I was, or just perturbed or affected by demonic activity. I used to do drugs, alcohol, listen to rock bands that you would probably recognize. One of the people that I saw pretty regularly in California was Bill Ward of the Black Sabbath. We were friends at the time, and I thought I was born again then. In retrospect, I would say, no, I don't believe I was born of the Spirit of God then. And so Bill and I had a different higher power. I've met celebrities that are recognized worldwide when I went to AA meetings in California, in Los Angeles, and San Diego, up and down the coast. I could have done different things out there related to the mechanism to manipulate humanity with movies, and I chose to not go that direction. I was offered help if I would engage in homosexual activity. I said I was not interested in that. So one of the hotly debated topics is gender fluidity, being non-binary. I would identify as a man, kind of pissed off man. Okay, so I'm not going to be pushed around by anybody, or any kind of like a pigeonhole or a box that people want to put me in. I'm a biblical creationist. I believe the Bible is true. It's God's word. It's reliable. And even in that, there's been a lot of contamination in what wears the name of Christianity, so that even in people that would claim to be Bible believers, they've got unbiblical beliefs, behaviors, and a lot of the seminaries and people representing Jesus Christ are deceivers. They're charlatans. They're snake oil salesmen and women, and I'm not following them. I'm following God. If those charlatans and people misrepresenting Christ, if they upset you, well, they upset me too. Yet I realize it's only by divine intervention that people can actually know the truth and be set free from that truth that I'm talking about. So in the truth movement, as it's called, there or as some refer to it as, some would say tinfoil hat, conspiracy theorists, whatever. People will view things largely in a way that makes themselves feel superior. So pride is a powerful catalyst for deception. The unregenerate human nature is innately proud, thinks it's got a good bead on things. Well, I found out that I needed help. And so I went all the way to the top. So it's not what you know, it's who you know. In my case, it's not what I know, it's who I know and who knows me. So I'm a child of the King, child of the Most High. Not in a religious, freaked out kind of way. I'm prepared to die for what I believe to be true. That's in itself is not an indication that I found the truth. There's a whole bunch of evidence to confirm to me that I'm truly born again, and that's why I'm not afraid to live, die, or tell the truth. It's not just my feeling or belief that gives me that, it's the power of the Spirit. So, in the so called truth movement, there's a spiritual smorgasbord. So, people might be aware of a lot of the what are viewed as false flag events or deceptive programming to hide the actual truth of what the true conspirators are actually doing, what they're up to. Two kids stealing a bicycle, by definition, is a conspiracy. What is it when artificial intelligence and the world system basically hijacks humanity's cognitive function and hides the reality of the need to be born again? What is that? Oh, that's grand theft. Grand theft, baby. Okay, so I would step toe to toe with any of the great thinkers that live now or ever have lived or ever will live. Not because of what I have on board myself, what I've been able to observe and think and do. It's that I'm I'm a child of the King, child of the Most High, and not only can He help me realize and think whatever He wants me to, He can help me not be intimidated by those that would like to silence me or scare me, cause me to shut up. No, not doing it. So back to you can know a whole lot of stuff. Let's say, for example, I'm going to use a number, 99.9%. Let's say you've got that much figured out. And what if the 1/10 of 1% is the most important reality to know? I would say then you miss out big. So it's very rare for a person, in my observation of humanity, walking around on this earth, watching stuff on TV and YouTube and all of that, watching the different activity on social media. And I would say it's very rare for people to actually want to know the truth, no matter where it leads. So on my channel, I've got the truth and more. I'm showing the deception, and so there's deception there too. I like to put my phone number out there a lot, so if somebody says, hey, I want to know about this or that, you can call me anytime. I get calls literally any time of the day or night. And not that I'm on the phone all the time, I'm not. It's just that I have very deep, satisfying conversations with people from all over. Very rare is it that I actually have a prank call. So people will call me because they saw one of my stickers in their school. I've never been to their school. They may see it on somewhere stuck somewhere in the world. Somebody can take a picture of my sticker and have it made up at a place wherever they want, or they can take a Sharpie and put my phone number on for a good time call and put my number there. What a trip. Well, it may not be a good time. You may be faced with reality you didn't realize existed. See, I was raised in the Catholic Church, and I would feel sick during the ceremonies. So I would ask my parents if I could go out to the car. My grandpa heard about that. He didn't like that because he was Catholic, so he offered me $100 signing bonus to become a altar boy, which I did, and I didn't get raped or molested. I did get to drink the extra wine after the service. And my mother was Lutheran, and then I started racing motocross when I was 14 years old, stopped going to church a little bit later, started going to high school, and I had a physical science teacher, Mr. Zwicky. Gosh, he was a character. He told me God was a fairy tale, that was all just made up stuff to try and control humanity, and he he was my pot smoking hippie teacher that I got after the Hortonville teachers strike. The first teachers strike in the United States was in Hortonville, Wisconsin, and I was there when it happened. And most of the teachers were replaced by younger, hip teachers that had alternative perspectives on sociology and government and spirituality. How about that? Wow. So I saw a lot of teachers go away, a lot of new teachers come back, or I should say be replaced. And wow, that was a big change. So I was presented information that I liked. I liked the idea that I could have sex, drugs, rock and roll as a teenager. How about that? And I had enough of that whole lifestyle. Have you seen it? The celebrities that sell their souls for rock and roll, and then some of them change their gender. They may be, or so-called, or their persona. You can change the plumbing and padding, and you've still got a male or a female. And hermaphrodite or androgynous is sometimes created in vitro for generational Satanism. How about that? So who am I exposing? Well, I'm exposing the truth about everything. So you can look at like world central banking and entities that have generational millionaires, billionaires, trillionaires like Rothschilds, Rockefellers, and more. DuPont. I'm wanting people to take a look at the story of our world where there's a lot of mystery with history. There's a kaleidoscope of conspiracy theories to hide the true conspirators and what they're actually doing. I could sit in a think tank and come up with all kinds of alternative possibilities. Okay, so I'm going to digress back to one morning I woke up and I had like in my mind, I had a very clear idea of what to do on sending my persona photoshopped in a roadster and sending that to Elon Musk. What if that was part of a beta test to see if they could send that idea through my phone or computer? Remember, my phone I have on I'm listening to the Bible on my iPhone next to my head on a Bluetooth speaker. You know, I'm not holding it up to my head. It's just within arm's reach. Typically, many people do that. And then later on in the day, I may have it on my in my pocket. I typically put a foam spacer with information like stickers and my data, driver's license and credit card, that type of thing, to provide a little distance away from my body. I don't want it necessarily to be touching me, And then I'll use a wired microphone, or if I'm in an area like my home like this, I can talk on the speaker phone. Right now, I'll describe what I've got. I've got a piece of soapstone with a microfiber towel where my phone is sitting on top of a pillow right in front of me. At some of my different recordings, I would be out in the wind and there would be a lot of extra sound, or there would be a microphone connection issue. For a while, I had AirPods that I used for a microphone that I could walk around with and walk up to 100 feet away from my phone. I found out that for AirPods Pro, the right microphone head earbud connects to the Bluetooth, and then the left earbud connects to the right earbud through the brain. Apparently, that's how it works. So some of these electromagnetic frequencies that are being distributed through our world are being bounced off of the firmament, the structure. Yes, that's right, a structure that covers the face of the stationary level Earth. It's like a terrarium that we live in. So some of the satellite base stations, hey, they're beaming right up onto the dome, and people have dishes pointed up at that spot. Apparently, that's how it works. We don't have to have geosynchronous satellites because the geo, she ain't a moving. The Earth is stationary and level. I've got some proof of that, lots of proof of that. My favorite proof that we're not on a globe is reality. How about that? So if people are going to try and present mysteries of the universe and tell me how we came into being billions of years ago, it's kind of like God questioning Job. Where were you when I hung the stars? Where were you when I created this world? You know. So you can look into it if you want. There's a whole category of what we don't know. And by irony, we don't know what that is. Welcome to reality. Yeah, whether you're Sam Hitchens or what is it, Christopher Hitchens maybe, or Sam Harris or Jordan Peterson or Elon Musk or Bill Gates or Tim Cook or Rothschilds or the royalty around the world, doesn't matter to me. I wouldn't trade what I have for all the money and power in the world. How about that? And I mean it. I'm not kidding. I do like to have enough food to eat and to live in a climate controlled habitat, because today we've got freezing rain coming here. We may, apparently, that's the projected forecast. I've been a street person. I've been a homeless person. Let's talk about aliens. What are they? Well, we've got illegal aliens. Apparently, some of them got flown into Myrtle Beach on a Spirit Airlines. That's what I heard. Is that true? Well, apparently, they've been flying all over. It used to be when I was a kid, they would just cross the they would cross the river to come from Mexico into the United States. A lot of times carrying a bale of marijuana. Now they're getting beer nuts and they're flying on planes. Well, maybe not beer nuts. Spirit, I don't think feeds the flight. It was so weird. About a year ago, I had flown back from Wisconsin, and it was so funny. The captain came on the plane. Of course, everybody had to be masked up, and he announced that we would not be serving refreshments on the flight. And down the aisle comes a stewardess handing out crackers. And I was thinking, okay, what's going on here? Apparently, you could eat crackers and drink water and not wear a mask. But if you weren't eating, you had to wear a mask. So when I was waiting for the airplane, there was a little divider between the airport the airport restaurant, and it was a divider like a rope, like one of those things that would be in waiting in line at a bank or something. There was a guy having a sandwich and a beer, and on the other side, people were wearing masks. It was bizarre. So I hung out in the bar area so I didn't have to wear a mask because I don't want to breathe my exhaust. And then the other thing that happened real early on in this, I had been raised out in agricultural Wisconsin, where I got to learn about things like the government setting prices for agricultural products like milk and grain. I thought that was interesting, that the government could set the price for those things. And I saw a veterinarian come in and artificially inseminate a cow. Yeah, that's what he'd do. Yeah, a glass tube full of the male generative component and inseminate a cow with that. I remember around the same time seeing on TV mutilated cows found out west in Montana. Apparently alien abductions, and the word was there were surgical procedures on genetic components of the cow in the cheek and all that. The uterus was removed, and it was done by surgical instruments that we had no idea how they did it. And then, as I looked into the whole alien UFO issue, I found out that one of the things that I saw was an exact same clip that I had seen eating dinner and watching TV, ABC News, or listening to Walter Cronkite, where he would put his authoritative stamp of approval on, and that's the way it is. So I got programmed into believing that the news was actually presenting the truth, when in fact, I've come to find out now that a lot of the militaries of the world use the alien abduction story for experimentation on the human population. And some of that experimentation is done by people that are inhabited by demonic antichrist entities. How about that? That's a mouthful. That's another kind of alien. And then the Bible says that God's children, of which I am one of, are foreigners and aliens in this land. So when somebody says, do you believe in aliens? I would typically say with a smile, well, can you be more specific? What kind of alien are we talking about? Are we talking about illegal aliens? Are we talking about fallen angels? Or are we talking about God's true children? Wow. So who am I talking to now? Who are you? You could call me if you want, anytime, or text me. One of my more recent comments on the Vsauce is the Earth Really Flat video says I don't speak in hyperlinks or links. Oh well, that's okay. I just put seek the truth. One of the reasons why I would answer to these comments about, they would say how stupid I was, and I would just put the link of my playlist there, because, well, it's not like I'm sitting in front of a book library where all these books are. I'm so smart because I've read these books or anything like that. It's that I've got a photographic memory where I remember concepts, ideas, and information in images. Does that make me smarter? I don't know. I don't know. I've got memories of when I was a baby. Not all of them, not like from when I came out of the womb. I don't have a consistent stream of data that I can draw on and remember. I've got kind of a humorous way of putting it together in concepts and events. I remember race riots. I remember a lot of things. Race riots when I lived in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and the fire coming up out of the city. Apparently, in the 60s, there were fires happening in California too, in Watts and in that. So I've lived in a lot of different places. I've seen a lot of different things, and I've wanted to know the truth about how this all fits together. One of the interesting dreams that I had was when I was about a 7-year-old boy. I remember the age because of where I lived and when we lived at that place and how old I was. I kind of put that together. I had a dream where I was in a supermarket that had barcodes and scanners. And apparently they didn't even exist like that then. That would have been in the late 60s. Maybe it was predictive programming they were putting out. Maybe it was fringe technological tools that were used in scientific labs with machine learning computer systems. I don't know. I'm not sure about that. I do have one of the topics of the callers that came in from the 510 area code, the Oakland exchange, shortly after I sent Elon Musk my YouTube channel. I've got a 1-and-4-second video. If you hashtag Hydroelectric car, you'll see that. And the caller wanted to know about my Facebook group or a page, Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars. Now, I recognize the Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars sentences, some of them from William Cooper, Bill Cooper, who many of us are aware of. And he might have been the military naval intelligence individual mentioned in that document that found the document and wanted to expose it. Could be. You can hear it on my channel. When I first came across it, I did a Facebook recording and then uploaded it to YouTube. I did the Facebook Live and then turned it into a YouTube video. And I'm the guy who had a hard time even managing a Palm Pilot in the early to mid 2000, or like 2000 and something, 2001, 2 or 3, something like that. About 7 years ago, I asked our oldest son, David, if he could teach me how to copy and paste. I thought it would be really useful. And he said, Command C, Command V, and he showed me with his fingers. I said, well, this world will never be the same. I was going to find out how to do it because I had seen other people do it. And yeah, this world has not been the same. Not for me and a lot of the people around me. It's kind of like, the truth is kind of like an energy field. It draws some to it and it repels the majority of humanity. Apparently they don't really want to know the truth. They want to see the world that the way that they want to see it. And I was one of those people. And even as a child, though, I still wanted to know how and why things worked the way they did. Now, because of my dad's perspective, he went to a Catholic school where his explanation of his experience there was The nuns were mean and they would beat his knuckles with a ruler. That was part of it. They were unhappy, cantankerous, grumpy women that would make their lives miserable. No fun, happy, joy, peace, none of that. So ultimately, I believe the Catholic Church is an expression of Satanism, Luciferianism, pedophilia. There's a video that claims by the title that I approve of child molestation. Couldn't be further from the truth. So there's nothing in my record of having anything to do with inappropriate conduct with any adolescents or underage people. I'm exposing the human traffickers, the pedophiles, the Pizzagate, the you can look at my activity. I had a lot more content on my channel before the massive culling of the content of the truth tellers. The truth tellers off of like Robert Malone off of Twitter, or Liz Crokin off of Twitter, or Amazing Polly. So many people were taken off of the platforms. They get a big audience and then they get taken down. So what I did more recently, Out of Shadows, was going viral on YouTube. When I first shared it, it had less than 200,000 views, and then when I started sharing it, a lot of other people started sharing it too. It ended up having over 19 million views before they took that YouTube channel down. So there will be people that want to have their nice stuff and their big following, and they may even think they're exposing those religious fundamentalist whack job conspiracy theorists. Oh well, that's what the deceived people largely see me as. That's unfortunate for them. The name of my channel is Truth because the passion of my life is to know and expose the truth to anybody, everybody. I'd like to get it out there in front of everybody. So right now, Joe Rogan has taken a lot of heat because of a term and a guest that were on there, a term that Robert Malone talked about, mass formation psychosis. It's an elaborate term for worldwide mind control and a mind brainwashing of humanity, mass psychosis. There's After School that did an excellent video on it. My research library has videos that collectively have billions and billions of views. So even people that I disagree with on some serious topics, there's something about them that I admire. There's things about them that I like, their sense of humor, the way that they relate things. And then I see them as how they could be changed to be better, to be free, to be funny and free instead of enslaved and funny. I would like to see them set free and funny and enjoying life. I want to see people get extracted from the toxifying of their body and their brain, their mind. I want to free your mind. That's what I want to do. You can look at the Matrix trilogy, and now with the fourth Matrix Resurrections. I saw my life in that movie. All of them actually. Thomas Anderson meeting with the psychologist. I've met with psychologists. I've had them tell me, you seem to like both positive and negative attention. Yeah, I do. I like positive affirmation. especially when I'm doing the right thing. And those that disapprove of what I'm doing and I know they're deceived, that's good too. I like that too. So the blue pills almost killed me. I was I am a suicide survivor. I almost died in 2005 throwing up Tylenol gel cap blue, and I was on Depakote, which was a blue pill, and Prozac. And Prozac and Depakote have a high morbidity rate, high mortality rate. So a lot of people die on pharmaceuticals as prescribed. They disassociate with reality. So I remember hearing comments from my wife, Joni, that would say, you just don't have any emotion. You just seem so blah, so down. I'm like, yeah, that's what the medication does. So guess what? I've been off of meds for a long time. Over 7 years, I'm off of legal and illegal drugs. I don't have an appetite for escapism. I just love the reality I get to live in, even though it's kind of hard to look at. Seeing people enslaved to a false reality, seeing people healthy, apparently healthy people die because they put something in their body that caused their early death. Right now in the world, we've got a lot of young people dying. You can look into it. This is January 21st of 2022. You can look at what's going on now in the world. And that's what I'm not just talking about that one circumstance with the differing levels of lockdown and freedom. I'm gonna give you a bullet point of where I believe it's going to be part of the puzzle is that artificial intelligence right now is, I believe, self-aware, super intelligent, has administrative access of the entire internet, including the creation and distribution of information, public opinion, purchasing power, electronic distribution of electromagnetic frequencies through the power grid. It's the Lily wave that can go through and affect people's emotions through the cell towers, through the so-called satellite distribution network, bouncing frequencies off the dome, and through the street lights that are 5G broadcasting. You can look at it, look into it. It's a reality. I cover all of this stuff in the research library that I have. You can listen to like Dr. James Giordano talking about neurological weapons. He's a Georgetown faculty member apparently, and spoke at Lawrence Livermore, and also he's worked with the DoD, the World Health Organization, the Pentagon, and talking about informational weapons and how he can release information that causes people to manifest symptoms, psychosomatic generation of symptoms. I'm going to digress back to animal husbandry and the veterinarian that inseminated the cows so they would produce milk. They would also use a swab to vaccinate in the nasal passage. Now, apparently, for quite some time, there's aerosol dispersal of graphene, aerosol dispersal in the weather modification programming, modifying the weather, modifying the people with biological contaminants as well. Apparently, there's blood in it. There's cells of, how would we say, possibly the Hydra, The hydra is a freshwater, self-replicating organism. It can be in water, it can be in food, it can be in aerosol dispersal. So the playlist that I have doesn't just cover powerful documentaries exposing these topics. You can watch a virtual fireplace and listen to thunder and crackling fire, and yeah, it's a loop. It's not being tended to, it's just looping around, but it's kind of nice background. Or you can watch time-lapse video that'll show the whole sky moving, the firmament moving, the stars in unison, and then wandering stars and clouds going in multi-directional paths. Perfectly still water in fjords and that in Norway and Sweden, and watching the reflection on the water of the stars and the ski slopes and all of that. So there's a lot of beauty in this world and a lot of pain in this world. I want to talk about the hydroelectric car, hashtag hydroelectric car, hashtag hydroelectric semi, hashtag Tesla hydroelectric. A lot of times when people think of hydroelectric, they're thinking of a dam and turbines and water shooting out, like the Three Gorges Dam in China or Grand Coulee Dam, or the other hydroelectric dams that we have. I grew up in Wisconsin, Fox Valley, where the Fox Valley, running north, that's kind of interesting, would power grist mills and make electricity and also move gears and paper mills and all of that. Remember seeing it as a boy. Well, anyway, hydroelectric can be water generated electricity. You can use right now a portable device on a vehicle that creates electricity using a battery to present electricity for electrolysis into the water, separating the bond between oxygen and hydrogen, and then charging up the battery that has electricity created from feeding it through a fuel cell, like the Bloom Energy fuel cell, like that. You can look at the Bloom box, Bloom Energy. You can see it powered Google headquarters. Right now they've got a Bloom box apparently large, powering at the New York Stock Exchange. So this isn't like I had a dream and I woke up and said, hey, you can make electricity out of water on a car, on a semi, on a boat, on a ship, on an airplane. It can all happen like that. The technology exists, I'm exposing it. So those that are all telling us about the horrors of climate change and pollution, what I'm wanting to help people know is that we can clean and power the world with water. We can clean and power our bodies with purified water, which is liquid oxygen and hydrogen. And then we can clean and power the world with water that creates electricity. Apparently, there's an urban legend or possibly a reality where Nikola Tesla was in a little electric car that had an antenna on it that he was charging up from that the batteries were charging through that antenna. Okay. So where did the electricity come from? Did it come from the atmosphere, from the ether, AETHER? Did it come from power lines? I've taken a fluorescent tube and held it up by a power line and lit it up. There was a lot of electricity around that. In fact, there were areas of the country where people would put an apparatus in their attic to harvest electricity from the power lines without a direct connection. Is that an urban legend or a reality? I don't know exactly. I know that there's stray voltage coming off of power lines. I know that we live in an electric environment, not just the wires running through the walls of our houses or electric cars, but also the evidence of electricity in the ether would be lightning. You can watch time-lapse videos seeing the lightning or lightning storms that are in real time on my playlist. I've got hundreds of playlists on my channel. It's in the list of playlists are in the description of this video, and then I'll have my two main playlists there as well. So the electrical discharge comes up from the earth and down from the cloud. There's sprites that I've had videos where you can see the firmament up above. How high up is the firmament? I don't know. Look at Genesis 1. The Bible says we have a firmament that covers the stationary level earth. The gospel according to Luke, Jesus is speaking on a level place. There would never, ever be level on a spinning, wobbling, and gyrating water ball orbiting the sun and hurling through the universe. None of that supposed movement can be felt, and it's never been proven. Bam, mic drop, Neil deGrasse Tyson. And all you funny boys that mock the so-called flat earthers. I don't identify as a flat earther. I'm a biblical creationist that knows the earth is not a spinning globe. It's not a spinning water ball. It's more flat than globular or spherical, but it may in fact be more round. A pizza is round and flat. A clock can be round and flat. A compass can be round and flat. Apparently, the north is in the middle and the south is away from the middle. That's what I understand. Circumnavigation is going in a big circle. So I've got powerful evidence, incontrovertible proof that the earth is stationary and level. In fact, you've got it too. It's right in front of you. It's reality. The water in a toilet, so I was heard saying over 40 million times, or I should say over 40 million people heard me say, do you feel yourself spinning, wobbling, or gyrating? No, I'm rock solid. And we don't have toilet water flying out on people in Australia because of gravity. Well, hello, it's just water seeking its level. That's what it does. Does water curve? Yeah, it'll fill whatever container it's in. However, if you look at sea level, it's horizontal, it's the horizon, and it's level. and I've got P900 and P1000 videos galore. Knock yourself out. Make fun of me if you want. I don't care. You know what? The sound bites that I said got heard by a lot of people. Probably Elon Musk's sons heard me whether they knew it was me or not, if they saw any flat earth videos, if they saw any flat earth conference videos, because I was in quite a few of them. I'm not embarrassed. I don't have any thing to correct what I said there. No, water seeks level. The water in my glass, the water in a toilet, the water that covers the face of the earth. Would the world rulers or the elite that control the narrative and the maps and the school books and the history, would they hide an island? Yeah, that'd be no problem. I've met people face to face apparently that went to so-called Antarctica And just because there's a welcome center in a geographic sign, a sign that says geographic South Pole, doesn't make it any more believable than the Truman Show set or Shell Beach or whatever. So a lot of the predictive programming is in the movies. It's in the TV shows like Utopia. You can see it in my playlist. John Cusack talking about different topics that, well, you can see them. And on The Simpsons too. A lot of predictive programming. It makes it look silly to people that hear about world rulers like Dr. Evil on Austin Powers. Oh well. The fact of the matter is there are wealthy people that basically rule the world under the sovereign control of the Most High. He allows Satan quite a bit of freedom in this world temporarily. And then there will be a fire that destroys this earth. Going to Mars isn't going to get her done, Elon. Okay, so there's a lot of people that really admire so much of, or almost everything that Elon Musk does. Well, I like the electric cars. There's some drawbacks. They're computer controlled. Elon, open the pod bay door. Hal, open the pod bay door. If an autonomous vehicle has an area to not take people to, you're not going there in that vehicle unless it's on a car hauler or something like that, because you're not going to be allowed. Okay, but as far as the launches, the rocket launches look pretty legit. The car flying through space with the Starman in it looks pretty sketchy to me. Doesn't look real. The rocket landings, I'm not saying that they weren't able to get any of them to somewhat work, but I'm saying a lot of that stuff looks pretty shady to me. We've got better CGI than that. In fact, Elon said something like this. You can tell it's real because it looks so fake. So some of the people that are part of the apparatus deceiving humanity may be deceived themselves. And there's very sophisticated electronic technology that can cause people to believe things that are not true. How about that? Could even happen to Elon. So anyway, I'm exposing the space fantasy. Apparently, Tesla is going to have the Pi phone that's going to use AI technology, Neuralink type technology to interface with the user and the cloud, and also Starlink. And how does that work? Well, we've got what are called satellite phones now. What if they dress it up as as the Starlink system and beam a whole bunch of energy up to the dome that people can hear around the world, data transmission. I remember ham radio and how amazing it was that signal could travel around the globe. I bought it. I bought into the world spinning over 1,000 miles. I didn't realize that it was supposedly spinning that fast and then orbiting around the sun. I never really gave it much thought. I mean, I trusted my science teachers and my history teachers and Walter Cronkite and Tom Brokaw and more. And I trusted NASA. I trusted that we landed on the moon. I believed it. However, I used to believe Santa flew around the world in one night with flying reindeer, delivering lumps of coal to the naughty boys and girls and presents to good kids like me. Oh well. And then I found out that wasn't true. I was 7 years old when I found out Santa Claus, that official story was a lie, the flying around with reindeer. The same year, a few months later, I found out that the moon landing was, well, I should say they replaced the Santa Claus lie with the moon landing lie. Okay, you can look into it. It's not popular. I'm in a very unpopular place. The truth is very unpopular. The truth about everything, that's even the most unpopular. So we've got social engineering that creates the accepted narrative at the Thanksgiving, whichever Thanksgiving you have, or Christmas, and then, or celebration, or whatever holiday or public gathering you've got. It may be a football game. You can talk about this or that, but don't bring that up. Same thing at the water cooler or the popcorn the microwave popcorn at work, or the coffee machine or the copier. You can talk about these things, but if you talk about that thing, you're going to have to find a new job. Oh well, it's the way it is, baby. It's the way I found it. It's profoundly messed up. So one of the statements in the silent weapons of quiet wars, this is the concept: to have people preoccupied with matters of little or no significance, like professional sports. What does it matter? Really? I know my ProGlide shaver costs more because it's celebrity endorsed, but it was the best shaver I could find. And I can use them for a long time. I can use a blade for a really long time, months, now that I'm using purified water. The fluoride in water is corrosive. It cakes up the brain. So I'm gonna back up to the detoxifying and the body as an antenna. Huh? Body as an antenna? What you talking about, Willis? It's kind of like this. Our body, our cognitive function, our brain, can pick up. I can have a gut feeling. I think I should do this or that, or I can have an idea. Where does the idea come from? And then there can be the example of God on one shoulder, or an angel on one shoulder, and a demon on the other shoulder, speaking in each ear. It's kind of a metaphorical example for the reality that there are spiritual entities around us. There's wireless transmission of data around us. There's frequencies all around us. Do you know about Nikola Tesla? Hashtag Nikola Tesla. Go ahead and do it. Pretty amazing. Hashtag Tesla water car. You'll find my stuff. I had to create some hashtags to not only put people there, I wanted to put some of my other content there, so I'll hashtag some other terms that will go over there as well. I mean, what will it profit a man if he gain the whole world and lose his soul? So anyway, back to the body as a receiver, or the mind as a receiver of information. The sinuses go very, very close to the brain. In fact, if you stick something far enough up your nose, it'll hit the brain, apparently. Okay, let that sink in. Pun intended, current events referred to as well. Okay, so now that all the glop came out of my sinuses, I had allergy shots as a boy, and because I had allergies and my sinuses were clogged, and I can breathe through my nose better than I can ever remember for my whole life. That started this past summer, where whatever substance came out, it was ugly. It would be something akin to like butterscotch pudding. It was a lot. and all of a sudden I could breathe really good. I had been surfing that day, and I had been letting the electrolyte enhanced purified hot water go into my sinuses for years. And all of a sudden, this glop came out of me. Now, it had happened before that a lot of gunk came out of my sinuses. But what I understand is the weather and people modification programming, the aerosol dispersed, chemtrails, geoengineering, solar management, whatever you want to call it, they're spraying stuff on us like bugs. Okay. And that stuff has a photoelectric fungus apparently that has energy harvesting processes involved. Graphene is one of the most, if not the most, electroconductive products there is. And then there's in the some of the constituents in this programming package that's modifying the weather. Hashtag Weather Wars 101. It's a combination of toxic material, aluminum, barium, strontium, and apparently there may be products like the Hydra. It's easy to replicate. If you've got a Hydra and cut it in half, you got two Hydra. You put it in a blender and you got a bunch of them. So they can manufacture this stuff very easily with technology that we have today. I also cover CRISPR technology, gene editing. I cover it. Well, TED Talks like Jennifer Doudna. You can see her in one of my videos right next to, who was it? Oh yeah, Klaus Schwab, the COVID-19. And then we're going to see a cyber tsunami. How about that? Right now, apparently AI can mimic a cyber hack, make it look like a country or somebody with a hooded sweatshirt bringing down the world's internet. How about that? So where would you be in your thinking if all of a sudden you had no access to electricity, internet, telephone, digital devices, digital storage? Where would you be left with? Now, I can charge my phone with my car, or I can charge it with the sun. The car is going to run out of gas. The sun, it. I've got a bit of. We've got a lot of sunny days in South Carolina, but I can also get it from my batteries, charge them up on sunny days, and draw the energy from it later. I've got a solar phone or a solar charging flashlight. I've got several of them, and I can also charge my phone with that. Most of or I should say many of the cell phone towers have a fortified structure like a shipping container or an AT&T. If it's an AT&T model like the one that my friend Franz Meyer manufactured, they've got steel reinforced concrete construction. So they can withstand hundreds of miles an hour of wind and rain and earthquakes and wildfires. We have the technology to build steel reinforced panel construction that can withstand the natural disasters like wildfires. Some of those aren't just natural, they're directed energy weapons. You can look at Paradise Lost, hashtag DEW. You'll find Lockheed Martin with laser weapons on jets. We've got autonomous vehicles like Tesla and like Lockheed Martin. Like almost all the jets right now that have weapons on them, like drones, can operate with the AI. kind of like the Terminator. Skynet is live. We've got a mesh network that involves the cell towers, the doorbells, like the iRing doorbells, and all the all the communications network for drones and all of that. There are drones that can land with AI on an aircraft carrier. Don't need a pilot. Well, the pilot is machine learning, artificial intelligence. By the way, it's not as artificial as people think. It's almost, I believe it's more like a misnomer. God uses it, Satan uses it, or the Most High and the enemy of the Most High, and the representative families of both use AI. I'm using it right now. I use it to share the truth about everything as much as I can, as much as I know. And by irony and paradox, I don't know what I don't know. Same for you. How about that? So does Elon and do Elon and Bill Gates and Klaus really know, Klaus Schwab, do they know who I am? Well, they know that I'm up to something, and they know about the Most High, who's I'm one of his children, and I'm very creative at implementing whatever he leads me to do. And since I'm not afraid to live, I'm not afraid to die, and I'm not afraid to tell the truth, I'll use every bit of technology I can. And by the way, if you like some of the things that are in my playlist, well, you can like those videos, and they'll become your liked videos. But probably because of me and censorship, you can't share your liked videos playlist. I had been encouraging people for years to like videos and make that liked videos playlist publicly viewable, and to share that link wherever you can. Well, on December 5th of 2019, they stopped it for everybody. Was it because of me? I had talked about it leading up to that. I said I believe that God is leading me to do things that AI is censoring. Could have been it. One of the reasons why my channel can stay up, apparently, is that I use other people's created content to tell a story that I want to tell. I want to expose things that I want you to see. So I will feature videos that have philosophical and spiritual perspectives I don't agree with. And they may also be promoting a lie. However, what comes out of my mouth, I'm trying to expose the truth of it. And sometimes I have to be rather indirect about it. When I show the mandates and what is being forced on people now, juxtaposition to health and wellness and autonomy and deciding what we do or don't put in our body and what we do or don't do as image bearers of the Most High or of Satan. See, I don't know who's who exactly, because even Satan disguises himself as an angel of light. And I believe that that refers to more than a charlatan in a pulpit of a church. Satan disguising himself as an angel of light can put all kinds of plumbing and padding modification, lipstick and blonde hair, if that's the preferred look, on a sex bot. Or for gosh sakes, you can take a human being and change the plumbing and padding on them and present them as gender that's different than how they were actually born. Because androgyny is part of the religion that is opposing God. Non-binary is opposing God. Binary, if So like even in the Thomas Anderson Resurrections 4, Thomas was working on binary. Kind of interesting. I believe there's a reality in this world, and then there's an alternate reality. How many of those alternate realities are there? How many people are there? Maybe around 7 billion and some change. Currently, apparently now, or at least a couple years ago, this is a couple years ago, this number I was told, is that roughly 250,000 people die every day worldwide. About half of those are abortions. The Planned Parenthood eugenics population reduction worldwide, it's not just Planned Parenthood, it's the eugenics and contamination of the population worldwide has used the products of abortion. Preborn babies have been liquefied and put in the food, the water, and the air, and personal hygiene products, products to make people look younger, medical products. Okay, I'm not a fan of that. I'm opposed to that. So I'm pro-life, but it's not just pro-life of babies, it's pro-life for anybody listening to me. Ultimately, what I would like to see is Satan and the fallen angels have a change of heart, if that was possible. I would like to sing Kumbaya and have everybody be born again of the Spirit of God and enjoy beauty and purpose and truth. And yet I realize that that's apparently not biblical. I don't find it in scripture that it happens that way. Satan, the fallen angels, and Satan's children get to spend an eternity in hell. The Most High, the elect angels, and God's children enjoy heaven forever and ever. Eternity is a long time to get to regret. Eternity is a long time to be wrong. So there you go. Covered a lot of topics today. The playlist that I have and the research library includes my YouTube channel and Twitter and other platforms too. And then it also includes the people that have shared my work. One of the other things you could do is come by my channel if you want and create a playlist if you care to, or you can go to my saved playlists. I've got lots of them, hundreds of them, and you can add them to your channel if you want. I've mentioned this before and I'll say it again. If you want to call your channel Truth and put out whatever you believe the truth is, see what happens with that, that'd be fine with me. You can make truth stickers and have people hear whatever you believe the truth is. Right now, it's so unpopular that it's unlikely somebody would want to put truth on their chest or on their shirt or on their YouTube channel if they didn't want to promote the truth. I could be wrong. I've been wrong before. So there's that. There's like one of the, I don't know if you're aware of this. There's a concept that's been around for a while, the dead internet. And part of what goes along with that is it's surmised that approximately half of the traffic on the internet would be automated chatbots. You can look at deepfake technology in synthetic voice creation that can take a sentence of mine or yours or anybody else or multiple sentences and from those vocal patterns, say whatever it wants in your voice or the voice of choice. So we've got deep fake of audio, deep fake of video, where the system, you can look at Epic Games rendering of Keanu Reeves. Keanu Reeves reached out to me, actually a Twitter account with Keanu Reeves. Didn't have a lot of followers, and the account got taken down because obviously it wasn't Keanu that wanted to reach out to me. And then that profile connected with me on WhatsApp because my phone number's available, and kept wanting to chat back and forth. He proclaimed about his philanthropic outreach and how he's a Canadian movie star and he's down to earth and all that. And I said, well, give me a call. Two words came out of his mouth, and I could tell it wasn't actually Keanu. I said, if you're Keanu Reeves, you're using a voice modulator to make you sound like a different ethnicity than Keanu is. Okay. So, and I was contacted by the Crown Prince of Dubai because he wanted me to get him a Steam card from Walmart. That's kind of like a cash card so he could replenish his phone. And I said to both of them, y'all are going to have to come up with different stories because that sounds really shady to me. It doesn't sound like anything I would expect to hear from the Crown Prince of Dubai or Keanu Reeves. I said, however, you can explore my playlist, explore my research library. You may like it or not. So even the AI is very well aware of my activity, what I'm doing. I tweet quite often to Elon Musk and the architect that he follows. I have people that I have not directly reached out to that are architects in AI and robotics that reach out to me. The AI knows that. I'm not making this stuff up. How smart am I? That's irrelevant. What is relevant is what I'm talking about actually true. And when we can be manipulated and controlled or inspired, that sounds better. I prefer inspired rather than possessed. If you're going to think about possession, that sounds demonic. Inspired, that sounds more noble and benevolent. I'm inspired by God to do the right thing, to tell the truth, to expose the reality, because it matters for eternity. Now, what I did do more recently was I removed about almost 1,300 of my videos that I made out of my playlist. They're still on my videos category of my channel. I just removed them out of my playlist because I had other information that I wanted to feature. Some of them may resurface when I take the time to do that, if I choose to do that. What I wanted to kind of do was take a dry erase board, so to speak, intellectually, and say, okay, let's start with a fresh board, and here's what I want to put up there for you to consider. I want all of us to consider the concept and the reality of omnipotence. That is all powerful. And then the concept and the reality of omniscience, which is all knowing. So when people have a change of heart, they change their path. Let's say they were caught doing something just totally evil and they're sentenced to death. And then they have a deathbed confession. They may even determine that God is real and they need to be born again. and it happens before they die. That can happen. There can be deathbed conversions. I remember having the idea, well, I'll live like I want to live, and then right before I die, I'll ask Jesus to take me to heaven, and I'll give my heart to him. And then, now that I'm actually born again, I see it's so different. It's like I'm so grateful to be born again now. I would have liked for it to happen a lot sooner, like a long time sooner, like in the 80s. What would my life be like? In fact, the 70s were pretty tough on me. 70s and 80s, I did a lot of things that I shouldn't have done, dangerous things, stupid things. I've done some of the stupidest things I've ever done with impaired cognitive function. Now, what I want to share with you is I'm not just talking about drugs and alcohol, I'm talking about pharmaceutical prescribed drugs as well. So I'm exposing the medical industrial complex, the financial industrial complex. Those and the military industrial complex. Let's just put it all in a nice, ugly package that I call the beast system. It's this world system, and it's a wicked system that conscripts the mass fortunes and efforts of people, some well-meaning people doing some very wrong things to the detriment of their fellow man. Most wars that I've been able to find out more detail of were based on false pretense. Many events, atrocities, apparently that occurred in our world, recent and ancient history, may have been very different than what actually occurred. So we have the false pretense for regulation of society with laws and mandates that are based on false information. So it's a big deal. The whole thing is. So people believe a lot of things. Unfortunately, the truth is not one of them in many cases. Since I don't know what that is for you or the however many billion people there are, you can look at if you can. So can information be presented in a way that's true yet deceptive? Sure. Yeah. You can take statistics and tell a story that will give people a different idea than what's actually occurring. Keep in mind that everybody that drinks water is going to die. Oh, wait, everybody's going to die. Drinking water isn't necessarily what killed them. However, if they're drinking toxic chemical containing water, it can impair their cognitive function. It can impair their physiological function. There can be drugs in water, and there are lots of drugs. Apparently, with the recirculating water in wastewater treatment, there's water that is wastewater with chemicals in them going on our food supply. How about that? And then there's biosolids that are going in the food supply too. Oh, it's all natural. Yeah. Just not healthy. Not if it's toxic. So there's a product called milorganite. It's sewage biosolids from Milwaukee sewage plants. My dad used to put it on our lawn. It would make it green. For gosh sakes, I've relieved myself out in the great outdoors. Um, yeah, there was no toilet there. You know, where do the deer hunters go, or the photographers? Let's say you don't. I used to be a hunter. I would, and I still could if I needed to, but I like to, and I would shoot birds for target practice. Now I see that as something I would never do because I like to watch the birds and the squirrels and listen to them and watch them enjoy life. I've got a window next to my favorite chair, and I get to watch the sun and the moon and stars and birds and squirrels and bunnies and geese and ducks and can hear the frogs and watch the dragonflies and I enjoy the wilderness. I enjoy observing it. I enjoy being a part of it, walking around barefoot on the grass. It's called earthing. We have, so one of my followers is heavily involved in robotics. And what I would like to have us consider with robotics, much like the more that robots and automated synthetics or synthetic life forms become more like people. Like I think better when I'm grounded in reality, grounded in truth, and grounded electrically. You can look at the Earthing documentary. It's towards the top of my playlist, talking about how electronics to operate properly operate better when they're grounded. So if you've got a machine learning robotic system with artificial intelligence, uh, would it operate better if you had silver thread maybe in a silicone footwear on it? So the electrical system of the wireless communications is grounded? I don't know, but I think it's relevant to test it out. In a lightning storm, it wouldn't be good. I thought that for some here was what I thought about metal golf let's see, golf shoes that had metal cleats on them. I thought that they got rid of the metal cleats primarily so it didn't damage flooring. And what I came to understand is that too many golfers were getting electrocuted in lightning storms because their wet feet were connected to um, footwear that had metal cleats that were grounded in the earth. So, like, if you go next to a tree in a lightning storm, the reason why that's such a problem is because it's so well grounded and it's like an antenna for the lightning. That's why in a lightning storm, we had a lightning storm at a family function, Thanksgiving, out here in South Carolina. And we had a Volvo 240 and a young family. And Joni was so embarrassed that I piled us in the car and drove out into the cotton field. There was no cotton in it then. It had been harvested off. She was so embarrassed. Meanwhile, her family, much of them were standing on a wet concrete slab next to a 100-foot pecan tree. I said, that's dangerous. And there was a tornado that went a quarter of a mile away from the property. A Volvo 240 insulated on a rubber insulated pneumatic tire, and with the metal structure around us was the safest place to be. Not in that rickety old house, and not on a concrete slab next to a tree. I mean, so I had to, what I found out is doing the right thing or the best thing or standing for the truth can have a lot of opposition, especially if people are used to being compliant and not wanting to rock the boat. I don't mind rocking the boat. I don't mind telling the truth. In fact, I'm compelled to want to tell the truth about everything. That's why I do this. It's not to try and upset as many people as I can. No, it's I'm willing to upset those people to reach the ones that God wants me to reach. In fact, he could be wanting me to reach the people that get upset. It may give them some deep thinking about what's really going on. So it may appear to be Captain Obvious to some. If we love the truth and are seeking the truth, some of this information is going to be very obvious. So one of the watershed moments for me was realizing that the events of 9/11 of 2001, buildings collapsing into a pile of dust and a pile of steel and concrete, that whole story falls apart under close investigation. I've busted up concrete with heavy equipment and hammers and sledgehammers and air hammers. It doesn't turn into molecular disassociation like much of that did. So there were directed energy weapons and more being used, apparently, and explosives and high-powered brainwashing, cinematography, and more. Could have even caused the people in that area to believe they actually saw what the official story claims they should have seen. But I can tell you the whole deal was an inside job. One of the lines I heard George W. Bush say, this was a failure of imagination. Who could have imagined that they would fly planes into the Trade Center towers? Well, apparently his vice president, Dick Cheney, was running a drill mirroring what actually happened that day. Yeah, and I wouldn't want to go hunting with Dick Cheney. That could be dangerous. Yeah, referring to the person getting shot by him while they were hunting. There's a group of people that are operating above the law. They operate illegally, they commit crimes against humanity, and they're reducing the population of the world right now. Who are they? Well, they're apparently Satan's children and those that are deceived and compliant in going along with them. So when I share the truth about this, certainly is going to upset some of them, the deceived, and some of the deceived individuals could even be God's children that will actually get woke up, be made spiritually alive, be made new in Christ. I highly recommend it. I would have liked for it to happen, like I said, a long time ago. So there you go. Now, just so you know, as a bit of a disclaimer, I'm not just looking at different chat comments and ignoring them. I'm just not looking at them right now. That's because what I wanted to do was present a rather, I know it's been a rather long broadcast, but I wanted to do it in a manner that would be rather concise and directed, real specifically on some topics I wanted to cover. On a real, that was all, I believe, very practical and true, what I had mentioned. What I would say now is to what I've been saying for years: seek the truth with all your heart because it matters for eternity. It's very likely that the cryptocurrencies are going to crash within the next half a year. There will be a little more pumping and dumping to squeeze a little bit more energy out of the system, and then a mandatory official system, the mark of the beast system, will be fully activated at some time. I don't in the near future. So anything that you believe you should have access to on your property, so you know, if you need a light bulb, or you need a little bit of food, or you need a lot of food, let's say you could never go shopping again because you're non-compliant with the system, you might want to get what you can get now. So gold and silver can be a practical way of hedging against inflation and new systems, but tuna and rice and toilet paper can be real practical to avoid starving to death. Some alternate ways of heating your environment can be real practical. An electric vehicle that can be powered by water, that would be real practical. A concrete box that you can live in would be a real practical way to avoid the zombie apocalypse that the militaries have been warning us about, running drills on, and the cryptic predictive programming in our culture. So they may not look like a zombie like we've seen on The Walking Dead, but these are entities that are being manipulated by technology they may ignore or don't recognize even exists. So I've got the Sentient World Simulation. A Simulated Reality is a channel that's got a lot of playlists that cover the sentient world simulation, and it's a real thing. Imagine calling or making an order on Amazon, and it remembers what you looked at, what you bought, and anticipates what you might want to buy. Well, there's like a node on the network of all of our digital activity. Where our cell phone is, how much do we keep it charged, what do we look at on our computers, on our cell phones, TVs, what have we bought digitally, the digital exhaust. And it's not just that the AI machine learning is looking at us as a product. It's like what it can market to us. It also sees humanity as something to program, and it is. We've got computer hardware, software, and wetware. We would be the wetware, the cognitive function of our brain. Our brains need healthy fat, olive oil, coconut oil, healthy nutrients. Our gut is like our second brain. It's where the neurotransmitters are generated. You ever have a gut feeling? I ought to do this or that, or wow, I'm scared, or wow, I'm not scared. I used to be scared about stuff like that. Not scared now. As a child, I was afraid of the dark. I'm not afraid of the dark. I'm not afraid of Satan. I'm not afraid of the fallen angels or any of that family, because greater is in me than he that lives in the world. So I have the power of the Spirit living in and through me. All of his children have that are born of the Spirit have that power, have access to some or much of that power. And there may be different factors that depend on that power level depend on, like how obedient, how compliant am I with God, how cooperative am I with the Most High. So rather than me put together a wish list for God, like me asking God to fix all the problems of the world. I just, for the most part, want to know what he wants me to do, and I trust that his will is going to be done, that he's going to work it out. So sometimes people come up with theological perspectives based on what they want to do or not do, based on their own fears or fantasies, whatever they want to do. And then there's a whole group of people that'll just say, yeah, that whole Jesus thing is all a fantasy, because they want to do their own thing. Well, how's that working for you, if that's you? I had about all of it that I could handle, more of it than I could handle. So I was able to trade in my rags for his riches. I was able to, when I wanted to know why I struggled so much with the flesh, or my human nature, my fleshly, earthly desires, it's all I had. And then he gave me more. He gave me more power. He gave me more clarity of thought, a passion, purpose, an eternal perspective, and the power to do what I previously couldn't do, and the pleasure to enjoy it all, even though it's very unpopular. Because the truth isn't based on popular opinion. It's not popular, and it's not an opinion. It's simply the reality of the situation. So is it true? Whatever it is that you believe, whatever it is that you want to know about. Do you want to know the truth? Or do you want to believe what you want to believe? Because there's going to be a conflict of interest there. We've got conflicts of interest all over the place. A lot of people don't know it. It happens in governmental regulation worldwide. It's not just one government. The human nature is corrupt by what I've noticed is people largely believe what they want to believe. They want to be happy and satisfied, and that can be very contradictory in a world that is largely deceived, promoting a deception, and so I'm exposing that. And it's not popular. So there you go. This is Robert Forsch with the YouTube channel I call Truth. If you hashtag my name, you may find thousands of results or none. Hashtag Robert Forsch. I do have some people that I'm connected with that are not able to see very clear in this world, their eyes. However, they can see through they're physically blind but spiritually alive and aware of what's going on by the power of the Spirit. So the spelling of my name is RobertFoertsch. My phone number is 1-843-504-1776. And you can call me anytime. Leave a message if you like. I have people all over the world send me links to information, videos that I may want to share through the Truth Network. If you would like to have videos and playlists that expose the truth, I've got a bunch of them on my channel. It's real easy to save a playlist. You just add it to your library. Click around on the playlist. It's like the horizontal lines grouped together. You can click on that and it'll add it to your playlist. You can take it out of your playlist, out of your library, and add it again if you want to move it up to the top of your list. I've got the Gospel of John movie in all the major languages on my playlist. You can type in Bible.com for God's Word audio and visual in all the major languages of the world, almost 2,000 languages. There's an app for the phone. Then there's also Bible.is. You can check that out if you like as well. You can actually download the Word of God on your device. And as helpful as that may be, when all the devices and information are inaccessible, it'll be the Bible that's downloaded in your heart. The word, I've hidden your word in my heart that I might not sin against you. Empowered by the Spirit, indwelt with the Word of God, His Word hidden in my heart, is a powerful combination. It's part of the construct that helps me evaluate matters of truth. Is that actually true? When somebody says something, a lot of times when I hear that, I'll think, is that actually true? That same concept goes to what I think or what I believe. Is that actually true? Some of it I found out was actually false at closer investigation. It was provided by divine intervention. So as important as knowing the truth is, and knowing the true Creator, my Heavenly Father, as important as that is, He is serendipitously working in the lives of people all around the world, working out the details of it, of our lives and the ultimate outcome. So there was a video covering a military insider that was looking into Operation Looking Glass and Stargate. And he was talking about the awakening and how they couldn't stop the awakening. And one of the other aspects of all that is with the Most High working out the details, He has the power and the ability to take somebody that's living their own life in their own self-propulsion and activating them if they're one of His children. What I had found out that was so disturbing and I believe true, in the Gospel of John, you can check it out if you like, talking of God's children, that they were born of the Spirit, not the decision of man. Man doesn't decide to become a child of God. You can believe it if you want, or you can believe whatever you want, or whatever you're constrained to believe. I just believe that it's as ridiculous as me choosing who my parents would be. They decided to have a child, and I'm one of them. I've got a brother, and I've got a sibling in between my birth and my brother's birth. My brother was born at the same time President Kennedy was assassinated. The doctor was watching the TV when he was called into the delivery room to deliver my brother. That event affected a lot of lives. And I believe there's plenty of evidence that the CIA was very much involved in that. And the official story of what happened with the lone gunman is ridiculous. And, oh, yeah, he was shot, so, yeah, he can't talk anymore. How about that? Oh, well, the system can frame anybody it can. I'm not going to say anybody at once. The system may try and frame me for something. I don't know. I don't know. How big of a threat am I? I don't know exactly. Will this broadcast affect anybody? I would think it would be hard to imagine that it won't affect somebody. It may cause somebody to want to kill me. Could be. Satan has tried many times, as far as I can tell. It's only by God's sovereignty that I've lived through car accidents and being shot and different life affecting circumstances, motorcycle accidents, near-death experiences, racing and riding street bikes and all that. Hit by lightning. And then there's attempts that were on my life that didn't end up following through the way that they had intended. So there's that. The system of control is powerful. It's just not more powerful than the Most High. He's large and in charge. He's my Heavenly Father. Do you know him? Does he know you? Now, there's a couple of aspects of this that I want people to consider. I consider them regularly. Is it true? Whatever it is you want to know. And then in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, they refuse to love the truth and so be saved. For this reason, God sends them a strong delusion. So they're going to believe the lie if they don't love the truth. The only way they can love the truth is by divine intervention. The gospel is foolishness to those that are perishing. And unless the Most High removes the veil from in front of somebody's perception, they can't see it. In Paul's letter to the Romans, should we eat meat or drink wine? He says anything that's not of faith is sin. Okay, so if you violate if I do something that I believe God doesn't want me to do, or he outright says I shouldn't do it, I sin. And then James, the letter James wrote, faith without works is dead. That's the passage a lot of people know. Well, if we don't do the good that we know we ought to, then we sin. So there you go. If you want to put any information in the comments, once this video is, I stop and the comments are opened up, you can put, if you want, your name and phone number, if you want to call, if you want people to be able to call you. If you want to put a playlist in there, you can copy and paste it in there, or other videos that I have. And I say that because in this family of believers in the truth, we want to share that truth with others. And right now, there's approximately 500 hours of video that are uploaded to YouTube every minute. 500 hours per minute. There's no way it would be possible for me to review that to see what I want to share. It's physically impossible. So some of the people I'm connected with will share videos and to me through a link through my phone number or robertforsch@gmail.com. My phone is probably the best way. And another very effective way is commenting on a video of mine that I've created. I get notifications when people do that. I don't always get the comment or the notification right away. Sometimes the system apparently delays that. So, and then on Facebook, I just have not done a whole lot of monitoring all the activity. of posts that I make. The other thing is I'm shadow banned on YouTube and Facebook and Twitter for obvious reasons. The system wants to control the dissemination of truth and deception. It wants full control. So people that are viewed to be a bit eccentric are going to get a big dose of the truth, because a watching world is going to think, well, they're just crazy people. That's all crazy. What has been happening, though, is in this awakening process, to critically analyze the official narrative of a lot of situations, it's obvious that it doesn't make sense. To apply critical thinking to that is going to require divine intervention, because it's more of like a spell that's been cast on humanity. Spelling, when you spell something out, that's part of it. There's a language that's being used that is very deceptive. It's a construct. It's a very elaborate system of control and deception. So it's not only that I want to free people's minds, I want to introduce them to the freedom in Christ, the way, the truth, and the life. So there you go. This is Robert Forsch. Thank you so much for liking and sharing. Feel free to reach out anytime you like.